So here we are, part 2 of Underwater Answers, and today what we're going to be looking at is where you should clip up your spod in comparison with your rigs, so you're baiting in the right spot. And believe me, we have got exactly the answer for you. These tests will prove beyond all doubt whatsoever exactly what you've got to do.
So I've got my spod rod here and I'm going to wrap this up at the exact same distance to what the marker's at. Now what I would normally do is find the spot with my spod rod with a lead, and then I'd clip the spod on and spod at the exact same distance. But because we're using the marker float as a visual marker, I'm going to wrap this up at 13.5 wraps exactly. So I'm using the Exocet spod braid on my 12,000 reel. So it's the exact same setup as the marker float. So I'm going to wrap this up at 13.5 wraps, spod out to the spot, and Hughesy's going to be underwater seeing where the bait falls in relation to the spot. Okay, so for the bait test then, I've got the spod rod clipped up at the exact same distance as what the marker float is. So I'm going to get this out with some 8mm boilies and see where they land in relation to the spot. So that hit the clip, not as nice as I'd like to have to. It sort of sprung back a little bit there. So, you know, okay, I think it's probably landed dead on top of where the marker float is, to be fair, and it's outside the box. The box is sat to the right hand side of the marker. So yeah, if you were fishing dead on top of that marker there, it would have been spot on, but it wasn't. It was just behind it. So yeah, it's going to be outside the box, that.
Mozza was right, the 8mm boilies had landed in a small patch just outside the box. It's interesting to see just how much the baits have spread, and the answer is not much at all. They probably just covered an area of about a foot squared. The bait had landed about 3 foot behind the centre of the box. From our findings in the previous episode, it's easy to see that if Lee clips up his spod and fishing rods to the same distance, he'll be spodding up beyond his baited rigs. To try and get things absolutely bang on, I grabbed the impact spod, held it parallel with the marker float, and asked Mozza to clip it up. Once he'd done this, I asked him to cast a spod with different casting styles and different types of bait so we could differentiate between each cast.
Okay, so Hughesy's moved the spod to where it should be. I've put some 15mm boilies in this time, and we're going to see where these land in regards to the spot. See, now that to me has landed past the float, and I'd imagine perhaps I didn't clip it where I'm thinking that I'm hitting the clip from. My next cast was made with 8mm boilies. The distance was kept the same. However, this time I would hit the clip with the spod still very high in the air to see if it would make a difference. Okay, so with this one then, the corn, I'm going to hit the clip but keep the rod in the same position once it hits the clip. So let's fire away with this one. Okay, so that one was with the corn and keeping the rod in the same position. Okay, so with the pellets, I'm going to hit the clip just as it enters the water. That was crap. I hit the clip perfectly. Let me do that again. It did semi-hit the clip.
Dipping below the surface, it soon became apparent that where Lee had reclipped to was not much shorter than the 13.5 wraps he'd originally used. The majority of the bait had fallen past the spot. The 15mm boilies on Mozza's first cast after reclipping had landed parallel with a back pole, just outside the box and 2 foot from the marker lead. The pellets from his accidental perfect cast were 1 foot past the box, as were the 8mm boilies on the cast where the clip was hit with the spod still high in the air. The big differences came with the cast where he hit the clip and kept the rod in the same position, with corn, and the one where he just hit the clip as it entered the water, with pellets. As you can see, the corns landed right at the front of the spot, about 5 foot shorter than the majority of the other casts. This illustrates the importance of consistency when hitting the clip if you want to be super accurate. The pellets from the cast where he hit the clip as it entered the water were way short of the spot, at least 5 to 6 foot back. Hitting the clip with the spod still in the air is absolutely essential for accurate spodding.
So I've been through the footage with Rob, and it's obvious that all of the bait is outside of the spot. So obviously the marker float's set up dead centre of the spot, and it's 3 foot away. So I'm going to wrap this out now and find out exactly how far Rob's moved the spod, and I re-clipped it to in comparison to the 13.5 that I already wrapped it at. So I'm going to do that now. Quite excited really to see the sort of difference that Rob had made it at. So here we go. 1, so 13. And just under half. So there's going to literally be, God, it's not even 6 inches if I'm lucky. So what that's basically telling me is I pretty much, to get dead centre of the spot, I need to be there, I would say. Maybe there, in my eyes. And that will land dead centre of the spot. So yeah, I mean, that's amazing how different that is. You know, with my fishing, I would have always clipped that up at exactly where I found the spot. And in 11 foot of water, you need to be, I'm 3 foot away, need to be taking 3 foot off of it in 11 foot of water. So yeah, that surprises me massively. So I'm going to clip this up 3 foot short of where I'd clipped it at 13.5 wraps. And we're going to put a few spods out. Rob's going to go back out there, and the bait should definitely be on the money now. So this is clipped up now 3 foot short of the spot, and this should land bang in that drop zone. So I've got 8 millers in the spod. See what happens. Right, now for the third and final one. They're in that box, I'd imagine. You know, in my eyes, all 3 of them have gone out perfect and should be well within the zone. Even though that spod looks no different from earlier, but it's obviously 3 foot different.
Moz was right, they were bang on the spot. In fact, you can see that the group of 8mm baits closest to the camera is larger than the one a little further into the box. This is because he put 2 spods literally right on top of each other. Taking that 3-foot distance off has made all the difference, and you can imagine that after 8 or 10 spods, the 1.2 metre square target zone will be covered in bait. This perfectly illustrates the importance of taking the depth of the water into account when clipping up your spod rod, as it really can affect where your bait lands in relation to your leads.
Well, I've been fishing well and truly wrong then. So, you know, I don't fish many waters that have got 11 foot granted, so I fish a lot of waters, the average depth of 6-7 foot say, so I'm still not fishing or baiting within the zone of the spot. So yeah, that's a real eye-opener to me, that, and I definitely feel that I need to be fishing or baiting shorter than where I'm actually fishing.
3.
Bang on the money.
Absolutely bang on. Inconclusive is now conclusive. I've got to say that I am absolutely buzzing about the solution to this one, because it's a question that's asked so many times, and there are so many variables. And up until now, it's been very difficult to get that conclusive answer because there are so many variables, but by working methodically through it, like we have done in these tests, we now know exactly what you've got to do. Eye-opener, wasn't it? It was a massive eye-opener, and no wonder I've been blank in the last 4 weeks, because I've been baiting in the weeds. And well, so it's problem solved though. So what we found, that 50 yards out in 11 foot of water, it's landing approximately 3 foot behind. So if we're dropping 3 foot off, you're landing in the zone there. Yeah, I mean that's a massive difference, and I always clip my spod up at the exact same distance as where I'm fishing. And I've a spot that I've been baiting for the last few weeks on Frimley is basically, I've been fishing up to a wall of weed and I've been baiting well in where the weed is. So, well, look, we know the problem. We now know the solution to that problem. And I think the key now, guys, is that if you are fishing in a similar situation to us, you've got to remember you've got to drop that spod a little bit short. And I would say that it will be a foot for every 4 foot of depth. Obviously, if you're going 20 odd foot deep plus, then it might be a little bit different. And if you're going 3 foot deep, it might be different. But if you were to take a foot off for every 4 foot of depth, you're going to be more or less bang on the money. What do you reckon? Definitely. That, without shadow of a doubt, that is what I'm going to be doing throughout the rest of my angling from now on in. Absolutely. Well, it's been a real pleasure for us to do this. I've thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I know that he has as well. We've been chatting about it, we've been buzzing about it, whether it's the casting the ledge, whether it's the spotting the bait out as well. It's just been brilliant, and hopefully that will help you put more fish on the bank.